Let's bring him in here. He's the voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Dave Thomas. But today's Twitter poll question, since it is Masters Week. Now, I'm not a golfer. Admittedly, I used to golf. I had golf clubs. I don't even know where they are anymore. I think my cousin Derek, I lent them to him, and he's probably sold them at a pawn shop for money. If he did, God bless you. You needed it more than I do. But our Twitter poll question today, for you golfers out there, in your career, have you drank more beer or lost more golf balls on the golf course? You can vote beer or golf at SportsCage. When you're there, give us a follow. Dave Thomas, more beers drank or more balls lost on the golf course?
My witty response was that they both kind of go hand in hand. As you do more of one, then more of the other seems to occur. But I probably would have lost way more golf balls because my slice has been terrible.
I'm going to have to go with golf balls, because there's some, trust me, when I was golfing, it's not that you were turning down beers, but sometimes if you're a bad golfer, and I was admittedly at best a bad golfer, there'd be holes where I'd just give up. Like if you lost 3 or 4 balls trying to play one hole, you'd be like, I'm just going to go to you shocked look. Yeah. Hey, you know how unforgiving that game is, right? And how if you don't hit it right, you hit it all wrong, and all wrong can spray anywhere.
I thought you were going to say 3 or 4 holes, or 3 or 4 balls in a round, not 3 or 4 balls in a hole.
Ugh. I golfed once 2 years ago in a best ball tournament, and I told the guys, listen, I'm here because it's a charity, but I have not golfed since the last time we had a different prime minister. So that's a long time ago. I'm not going to be adding very much to this other than maybe camaraderie. I'll buy beer, and they're like, it's okay. And then it ended up being one of the guys we ended up playing with. There was 2 guys from the place I was working, 2 from another place. And the other place was some construction company, but one of the new project managers used to be an ex-golf pro. So the kid was a stick. He couldn't have been and I think his boss picked him specifically because of his golf ability, because he wanted to do well in this tournament. God, he was just crushing it. You know those holes where if you pay money, the pro will hit it for you, hit your drive?
Yeah, that's perfect.
He was out hitting and placing the ball better than the pro.
Yeah.
Because even the guy after the pro even said, he's like, he's got me beat. I got nothing on that guy. So just to have a little fun. The Masters, they had the big dinner last night. We'll get into the menu in a little bit. But yeah, Pat Mayo is going to join us after 5 this afternoon. As I was looking at the calendar, Dave, less than a month to go till rookie camp. Tell me you're getting excited. Tell me that the tingle is kind of there. There hasn't been football in your world since November. So how are you feeling these days?
I'm excited because just the potential that the roster has, let alone trying to mold it into what the group is going to look like coming out of training camp, is going to be insane. So 28 days, 4 weeks from today, we will be on the field at Griffith Stadium in Saskatoon with the first-year CFLers, the rookies, out on the field. So it is coming quick.
I can only imagine what kind of fancy shirt Luke will be wearing that day. Cool shades. He'll look like he's in mid-season form, and it's going to be day 1 of rookie camp. That's a guarantee you can take to the bank.
You sell seats for different things, and I think if we could sell the seat next to Luke during training camp, the insights that man gives would absolutely blow your socks off. Because I remember we were sitting around last year, and he seemingly in just a matter of minutes had a very accurate picture of what the depth chart was going to be very early, and his projections, the abilities that he has to see things that just the average casual fan doesn't see when it comes to technique and understanding what your assignment is. And again, he can spot hesitation was one of the things that stood out to me last year was he's hesitating. He doesn't know the play. And I would never have picked up on that. And again, that's why he's played the game. That's why his expertise is so critical. And like I say, I'm excited just to hear what he has to say when it comes to the players that are out on the field this year.
I think it's safe to say, maybe you'll agree, maybe you won't, that one of the things the Riders needed to work on in the offseason was the secondary. Because if there was a weakness last year, whether it was from injury or breakdown, was our secondary. Do you think that Jo and crew have gone out and done a good job filling the spots potentially with bodies and some players to shore up? Would you say that would have been one of the Riders' key weaknesses last year if there was weaknesses overall in the team?
Well, not to positionally single out the secondary, but the secondary was also a byproduct of the team not getting much of a pass rush, right?
Mm.
That was one of the big factors later on in the season, that they just couldn't get the quarterbacks off their spot. And when they were able to do so, they had all kinds of success. So I think the pass defense as a whole, when you look at the team leading the league with their rushing defense and you analyze that and you transform that and look over, okay, teams went to the passing game a lot against the Rough Riders because of the fact that the run game wasn't doing anything, but they also had some success. So yeah, I agree that the pass defense is going to have to be better. I think it will be better when you look at the additions on the defensive line, but the secondary, you're bang on. There's going to be some really intriguing matchups when you look at the secondary and how it presents itself heading into the season and or training camp.
So we last year was the perfect example of, with Roland Milligan, that defense is special. But the year before, no Roland Milligan, pretty average football team, because he makes or breaks that Rider D. So he's penciled in, and that's all good. So we're going there. So when we're looking in the secondary, so who did we lose from last year? We lost Deontay Williams.
Mm-hmm. Amari Henderson as well.
And Amari Henderson. Now, for a lot of the year, those two were battling for the same spot at times, right? One would be in, one would be out. I thought Williams was a better tackler. Obviously, did they think that Henderson played better coverage? Because Henderson ended up getting some starts when they were both healthy.
Yeah, no, and Amari Henderson just kind of, he went ahead and went about his business the right way, right? He continued to improve week in and week out, and if he didn't get a chance to start, he was not happy, but he didn't voice that displeasure, right? So he was the ultimate team guy, and I think that the team saw when there was an opportunity maybe to put him into some of the defensive schemes that they were using in that pass game defense, that maybe he was a little bit ahead of Dante. They felt that he gave them the best chance to win. So neither of them are there, and it's going to be an interesting looking secondary, because you look at the names that are there, and the secondary also this year is going to be a ratio changer. And the fact that when you bring in Tavon Campbell, right, a Canadian that's going to start on the corner, that's going to change the ratio, because that frees up a spot somewhere else.
So with Tavon Campbell coming in and playing corner, now we talked about this. Was it with Charleston a while back? So with Campbell playing corner, now you almost have to build the pipeline of, if you're going to keep the ratio, you need another Canadian corner behind him. So if Campbell's day one starter, who's behind him? Do we have that person, or how is that going to shake down? Because normally they've played Canadian at safety, but at corner, who is that?
Well, there's a lot of different options, right? With the group of nationals that have been assembled by Jeremy O'Day. So you got Tavon Campbell. We mentioned him already. Kosi Onyeka is back. So there's an option. You got Kerfala Exume, who's won a Grey Cup in the Canadian Football League, playing with Winnipeg and Montreal. So he comes in. He's got a load of experience. He could go ahead and take a spot somewhere in the secondary. Nelson Lacombo, who started at safety, he also could rotate out to the corner, because that's where he's played before. And that's when we saw the Riders in some injury difficulties during games. That's where Lacombo would shift out and Jaden Dahlke would then move into the safety spot. So there are a lot of intriguing options when it comes to just the nationals in the secondary, right? And then there's the Americans that have been added.
So you'd mentioned Dahlke, you'd mentioned Lacombo, and it's safety. Now, that's traditionally a place where they've gone Canadian. Do you think that job in training camp will be a full open competition? Somebody, pardon the pun, grab the ball and run with it, to be one or the other? And I know that they spell each other off, but is it time for one of those two to take that spot and make it their own?
Oh, absolutely. And you'd have to think that with Lacombo re-signing and the season that he put together and the high praise that he's earned from all of his coaches, that you'd have to think that Lacombo is the guy at safety. And it's funny because we mentioned Dalkey and Lacombo. The one guy we haven't mentioned was the guy that was missing most of last year due to injury, and that's Jackson Ford, right?
Yeah.
And Jackson Ford's ability to play special teams as well as Dalkey make them both valuable commodities. So again, it's a competition. I would say suggest that Lacombe would have the inside track on that. But last year, what did we hear throughout training camp? We want to have competitions at every position. So then we go ahead and are at our best when the season starts.
Now let's move over. Let's move to the. So if we've got the Canadian corner lockdown, we know Milligan, he's in there. So when it comes to the Americans, let's go to the other side. Who's there? Who are you thinking? There's some new bodies coming in. Like what are your thoughts on the other side of the field?
Well, you've got Roland Milligan Jr., obviously, right? So you go ahead and you put him in bold and in ink, right? Then obviously DeMarcus Fields has got an opportunity at that halfback spot. Marcus Sales has re-signed with the team. So those are the Americans that have got the experience in the secondary. You look at a guy like Nicaro Harper, who was around last year and made an impression on the team, as did Antoine Brooks Jr. So those two are guys there. And then the offseason signings like Leon Jones from Arkansas, he had a standout collegiate career and has had a cup of tea in the NFL, as well as Mark Webb from Georgia, are two guys that Jeremy O'Day has brought in that have some pedigree to their name and have a lot of upside. The question is going to be how quickly can they catch on, because the training camp is 2 weeks long to make that impression to earn a spot on the roster.
A guy last year that I thought from training camp impressed, and obviously they kept him around, and hopefully he gets a chance to show more this year, was Antoine Brooks. It just seemed that whenever he was in there, he made plays. Do you think that there is going to be room for him to get on that roster? Like, to take year one, it's tough. Any defender, that's the hardest job. Like, especially when you're coming to the CFL, you have no idea what's about to happen to you, and guys are just going to make you look like a fool. But to me, he played well and he held his own. Any chance we ever get a chance to see him?
Absolutely. He made a great impression last year. And you're right. It is very hard for a defensive player, especially somebody in the secondary or a defensive back, is, you talk to the players and they talk about the waggle, right? And they hear about the waggle. They have an idea about the waggle when they're coming up to Canada and getting into their first training camp and their first practice reps. And they know there's going to be some motion, but then it's a real eye opener. And I'm trying to recall if it was Marcus Sales. It might've been Marcus, but pointed out to me last year, goes like, the one thing you'll just never understand is that all of a sudden there's a guy not only coming at you before the ball is snapped, but he's coming at you at full speed. And you have to go ahead, read and react and understand what he's going to do and try to cover him. And coming into a new game, right? It's not a new sport, but a new game. And the fact where that's happening, plus there's an extra body on the field that you have to communicate with and understand what they're going to do. It's a challenge as a defensive back, and I would suggest one of the most challenging positions to come into the Canadian Football League with.
Well, Marcus Sales got cut by BC. The Riders picked him up, and I think it was safe to say that he had a very rough first game. But as they say, as a defensive back, you need a very short memory. And then it seemed from there, he just locked it down for the rest of the season. And hopefully some of that veteran leadership, because there's a lot of new guys even last year that kind of rubbed off, where some of these guys are going to take that next step, where we're going to see some of these guys come out because, hey, you know what, hopefully everybody stays healthy, but let's say somebody else has got to step in and be ready to play. And it seems like our Canadians, because we've had to, because of ratio, the Dalkey, the combo, all that, but now it's like, all right, that next step. And if this second year guys are going to do it, or maybe the rookies come in and impress. Yeah, you're always wondering, like, what are they doing now, a month out from camp, to get themselves outside of just, some of the normal stuff, like, especially for year two. Is it film that will set you apart in year two? Everybody can probably run the 40 and, do whatever in the wind sprints, but is it that the skill,
I think the
playbook?
Yeah. The ability to read and recognize concepts, right? To understand what you're needing to do as well as what your opponent is going to do. So there's some anticipation there. And once you've read those keys, and again, that's where Luke comes in and pointed out to me last year, He's like, watch this rep, because you're going to see the receiver do exactly the same thing, but he's going to approach the line of scrimmage an entirely different way to see whether or not the defensive back can understand where he has to go and what's going to happen. And that ability to do some film study, again, all the players are going to have access to this prior to coming to training camp. So yeah, absolutely. Who's done their homework, who understands, who knows what's happening. And then, of course, there's the physical conditioning component of it as well, as all the players now are going to be ramping up that finals phase of their off season so that they're ready to hit the ground running literally come 4 weeks from now.
We're showing on the stream an interception being thrown. Oh, Mr. Stampeder. There could be a lot of that this year. Big news from the Riders today, especially when it comes to being a fan and how you can take in the game. The Riders have introduced a couple of things, flex packs and the watermelon pack, which I think is pretty cool. So the watermelon pack, and it's available and on sale right now. This is a chance for you to, like, listen, if you've got to pick and choose your spots to be a Rider fan because you've got family and commitments and work, or if it's a drive, or you're like, all right, I'd love to be at all 9 home games, but I can't. So the Watermelon Pack is the home opener on June 5th and the Labor Day Classic against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Both games starting at $78 plus tax. And I love the fact that they're willing to dangle the premium product of the Labor Day Classic. Nothing against the home opener, but there's nothing better than Labor Day, right? So you've got your watermelon pack, which is great. But then also today, they introduced flex packs. Now, this is a chance for fans to buy online vouchers, which can be redeemed for any home games, including the Labor Day Classic. And they start at just $33.50 plus tax per voucher. So the way this works, Dave, if me and you bought a 10-pack, we could find or pretend to have 8 other friends. All 10 of us could go to the same game.
Okay.
There were some lonely rides from the stadium last year. Hey, listen, we're all but. Or you want to go, you and a buddy, 5 games each. You bust it up any way you want, but you buy these vouchers and you can turn them in for games. Like some days, like you got kids, but sometimes it's kind of like, well, only one wants to come. Oh, okay, well, you're not burning a ticket. You decide what you do with these flex pack tickets because they're vouchers and you can use them for anything, including Labor Day. And I love the Labor Day angle because that's usually when you would be getting a larger group together, let's say, right? Sunday, it's the Labor Day Classic, Bombers. Maybe you've got 6 people for that game, but every other game, it's just, you and the wife. So you use the 2. So the flex packs and the watermelon pack, good on you, Saskatchewan Roughrider ticketing department. I think it's a really good idea. And $33.50 to go to a game. That's a great price.
Absolutely. And I think that this is kind of very indicative of something that I didn't know. Like, the Riders poll their fans frequently and find out what they want. And this is one of the things that they identified that they wanted. And I was up in Zenon Park, Saskatchewan this weekend. A shout out to the organizers of the dinner up there. Yeah. We were up there, Luke and I, and one of the things they were talking about was that, you know what, it's going to be such a fluctuating season for seeding this year. And when it comes to harvest, of course, is a byproduct of that. So like, apparently seeding's happening down southwest corner of the province right now, where up in Zenon Park around Nipawin, they're not going to be in the field for a month. So having the flexible flex packs allows them to go ahead and, hey, we're not busy, we're good, we can go now. And they were very appreciative of that.
Single game tickets will go on sale May 2nd at 10 a.m. Just go to riderville.com. All the details are there. But the watermelon pack is on sale right now. Home opener. We're playing Ottawa, right? That should be a win,
yes,
right?
Sir.
I don't want to count chickens. But
you saw that overtime experience last year, didn't you?
Oh God. Mr. New Commissioner, just please ensure that nothing like that ever. Like, if he's the commission, let's say he's at home on the couch, you phone the command center and tell Andy Fantus, no, this is not happening. This is not turning into a boondoggle. No. So Ottawa for the home opener, Bombers Labor Day Classic on August 31st, $78 plus tax. That's a good deal. All right.
Yeah.
Dave's going to stick around this hour. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Jock Wilson, who's part of the Stampeders play-by-play crew from QR77 in Calgary, is going to join us. They announced the inaugural Stampede Bowl the other day. Listen, if you can't win a trophy, you make a new one, and then you try and win it. Bomber fans, I'm looking right at you because it's going to be the Stamps and the Bombers on July 3rd to kick off the greatest outdoors show on earth. We'll talk to Jock next. You're listening to the Sports Cage on 620 CKRM. And if you're watching our stream, thank you very much. You can check that out on our YouTube channel at sportscage.com. Still to come on the show, we're going to hear from John Ryan, the newest inductee into the Saskatchewan Sports Hall of Fame. We'll have that interview around 5:45 this afternoon. It's Maz and Dave Thomas here. Now, we just had Jock Wilson on, and he said that he still thinks Mike Rose has got some gas left in the tank and that could do something special for Rider Nation this year. And I had said the minute that I saw that he got cut, him and James Waters, I'm like, I don't care, sign him. Guys like that don't grow on trees that are that big, that powerful, and that good at the CFL game. They usually don't shake free. And happy when I saw the press release, yeah, Mike Rose, now a Rider. Yes. Thank you, Jock Wilson, for making that feel even better. Salary cap wise.
Sorry.
Yeah, so salary cap wise, he had mentioned like BC, a super over. Now the Riders went over the cap. You're closer to this team than anybody else. Is it safe to say that because we had 38 offensive linemen last year suit up, that's probably why we ended up going over?
That would be where I would land at that. I mean, I'm just purely speculating. I don't have any insight into the Riders' finances, but yeah, the offensive line that they had to bring in, and when the guys were injured, right, like Jacob Brammer, you go down the list, not everybody went on the 6-game injured list where you get the salary cap relief. So I would suspect that's where it is.
Okay. Friday, when we chatted with Luke, he was off to Zenon Park for a sports dinner. You and him. So real quick, how was it, and who else was part of the dinner, and how did it all shake down for you guys?
A great night. Volunteers did a fantastic job raising a bunch of money for their community. So there was Luke Mullender, there was Andre Loy out of Montreal, and Joey Koser were there. So some great guests, nice. And good times, and a lot of laughs that were had from everybody there. So it was awesome.
Now, I know Joe Koser has retired and hasn't played in the NHL in a long time, but I would assume that at the drop of a hat, at any given moment, if things got out of hand, Joe Koser could still handle business. Is that a fair assessment?
Oh, yeah, he's got concrete hands, absolutely. So, yeah, he could. And Andre Loy, I would not want to tussle with him either. Of course, he's got all kinds of penalty minutes. And, of course, he has some up-close personal reference material when it comes to John Tortorella. So he shared some of those stories and how he may have single-handedly helped win the great Stanley Cup, for Tampa Bay by just calming the mood in their series against Philadelphia during that Stanley Cup run.
All right, we just got less than a minute here before we've got a break for news. You've got a feel for your hometown tonight. You've got to be a little nervous. The Weyburn Red Wings are poised to make history. Last week when we talked to Jamie Nuchbauer, longtime voice of the Notre Dame Hounds, it was basically a given that the Flin Flon Bombers were going to beat the Weyburn Red Wings. We were just trying to decide the amount of games, let alone the chance, Dave, of a sweep tonight and sending Flin Flon home for the summer. Come on now.
Hey, all I'm going to say is I don't want to go out there and jinx it. The second last season that I was in Weyburn broadcasting the Red Wings, they fell to the Battlefords North Stars in a reverse sweep style. They led the league final series 3-0, and the North Stars came back and won it in 7. So I'm just saying things are looking good for the hometown team.
All right, so that's one of the game 4s that will go tonight. The other game 4, Yorkton finally was able to score a goal. It wasn't enough. Ashton Paul scored late in the third. Melford Mustangs win 4-3. They lead the series 3-0, and Yorkton is going to have to put it all together tonight and hope that Melford has an off night, or it's going to be Benny's summer vacation may start early in the pierogi curtain.
There you go.